Hi, my name's Preston from Miller Trailer Sales, and today I'm going to conclude the talk on finding and repairing water leaks on your NuCamp trailer. So first I want to introduce the 2022 and the 2023. That one's a CSS, this one is an S model. The CSS, of course, has the rear clamshell hatch. This one has the inside kitchen. The reason I'm showing you this right now is because from 2012 to 2020, we had a trailer that had a piece of really pretty trim in the back here, but the thing that was bad about it is the sheet metal only came down this far, and then that plastic trim was supposed to hold back water. In 2021, NuCamp redesigned it, and the sheet metal goes all the way to the bottom, so we don't have to contend with a lot of potential for leaks. These are not immune to leaks. Obviously, if somebody runs in the back end of your trailer and you don't fix it, the distortion might allow water to get into the screws that hold the handles on, or something else might have shifted. There's a couple of number 8 screws in the trim, but by and large, this is a completely impervious trailer to water in the back. The earlier models, I want to describe it to you from what I've written. We had leaks into the floor behind the couch that would come in through the screws that held the taillight trim and the side cover trim. And sometimes this real pretty piece of plastic here would develop cracks in the corners. And so after a year, 2 years, 3 years, you were almost guaranteed that you would get a water leak into what they called the butt of the trailer. So if you're interested in a Tab 320 S model that's built before 2021, you need to do your due diligence and pull the couch forward and look underneath for rot in the floor. And the way that you're going to fix that is you take that whole plastic butt off, you change the board from the inside, the insulation, or if it hasn't gotten too bad yet, you might be able to simply pull the housing covers off the back. Make sure you don't have any cracks in the butt. If you do, you would caulk those cracks, clean everything up, put those trim pieces back on with large amounts of sealant underneath them. And after you get the trim in place, you caulk all the exposed areas so that the water is forced to drain over the outside of those tail lights. I've done a lot of them that way, and I've had a really good success. So you don't shy away from them if the price is right on the camper. But the 21 and newer has a bigger bathroom. Like I say, it's sheet metal all the way down. If you can, buy something 21 or newer so you don't have to deal with the old technology. So continuing on with my instruction on repairing the leaks on your NuCamp trailer, we're going to start at the front window. How often do you open the window wide and clean across the top of the edge where the dirt collects? If you don't do that regularly, I can guarantee you that dirt is going to work its way underneath this seal. Maybe when you open the window crack, some pine needles will fall down in here and you'll start to get a window leak from that pine needle. But what happens eventually is the dirt works its way underneath this seal and causes water to drain in behind and into the wall. In this case, it went down on the top of the counter and out on the floor, and they saw the leak. Sometimes it drains down through the wall and puts a whole lot of mildew in, actually gets water damage to the ceiling panel as it comes down behind the sink in the lavatory. So what I did here was I cleaned the seal thoroughly, and then after everything was dry, I put silicone sealant underneath to fill it in on both corners. Then I used stainless steel screws with washers to hold that seal up, because above here it has like 5 staples, and the staples go in pretty hard, and eventually the rubber detaches and the seal comes down in the middle. This one was sagging pretty good, so it had a leak here. It had dirt hanging on here, potential for a leak there as well. By using this, it goes right into the aluminum square tubing frame, and then I caulked it completely across, and we'll never have a leak again. We want to move on now to the door, possibility of a door leak. I've only ever found this problem one time. I believe it was on a 2020 or a 2021, and what happened is the threshold actually cracked right here. This one looks like it could have some potential for the same problem. I'll be cleaning that sealant out and caulking that gap. The other place you might get a seal leak would be if the door is out of adjustment or if the seal has changed the shape. That's not likely on this style door, but you can get adjustment here if the door does not fit properly. Adjusted the hinges, adjusted the striker. On the earlier models before 2021, you could adjust the striker but not the door hinge. You typically would just bend the door to the shape you needed it to be to get it in place. On those models though, you could also add more D-seal or sealant to correct for a leak. Another place that we could look for a leak, especially on the earlier models that used a tarp material for the bottom protection for the floor. Underneath here, the vapor barrier would wear thin, and sometimes the water coming down over the top would just continue to go underneath the vapor barrier and rot out the 1/4-inch plywood that had been used. From 2017 on to 2020, they used Asdel, so that was a better deal. If it got wet, it wasn't a big deal because it was a fiberglass product. But the earlier models, they would rot out that board. If you get one that you know is wet inside, cut that vapor barrier open, let it dry out good. Put it in a heated garage or something, dry it out good, and then paint some of that Get Rot or some other rot hardener on it. And after that, you can put marine spar varnish on it. After that dries, you can tape it over with Gorilla Tape, and you could use Flex Seal if your vapor barrier is in good shape, except it's wearing thin. Use Flex Seal or silicone sealant on it to deal with that problem. Continuing on, we could have also a leak in the wheel well. The wheel wells have sealant around them. They're plastic wheel wells, and they join to the vapor barrier or whatever other materials. The newer trailers are using something like Airstream uses for the floor. It's impervious to water, which is what we really want. And there are places that caulking is done both along this perimeter underneath the fender and on the inside of the inner fender. And besides that, there would be places on the inside of the trailer where the fender joins the floor. Not so much on the 2021 and newer, but the earlier models, you could see the bead of sealant there, and after they get about 5 years on them, they typically crack. So that would be another place to look for a leak.
Yep.
I want to continue by showing you the Nautilus compartment. This is an area that has had trouble from the time they started using it in 2021 up through 24. In 2024, they actually started putting a gasket in this crack to keep it from getting water out here when you would disconnect pressure hose, because the hose typically sprays. I actually had somebody that used a short stub hose, and because of that stub hose, it was dripping right here. She had a little leak on that stub hose, and it totally ruined the floor because the water kept dripping underneath right through there, and she probably had about a $3,000 repair because of that drip. So by pulling off the top board on your Nautilus, you can see where you need to caulk to take care of that gap. Also, the screw holes in here sometimes don't have enough sealant on the screws. The 21 model had actually the low point drains here and had 4 more screws. So cleaning and caulking in here is a very necessary thing. The other thing you can do to prevent the leak is to keep it very dry. Keep a towel handy, always sop it out. Don't leave it be like a kitchen sink that has water laying in the bottom of it and being messy. Next, I want to talk to you about roof vent leaks. There have been times that roof vents hardly ever leaked, and that was when they were using fantastic fan vent. It had a lock on it to lock down and this one's broken, to lock down the top, because wind would come and it would blow and cause that lid to work its way up. Not so much with the newer vent, but that one, the newer vent, has a different problem. That is, this is a flexible plastic seal, and this one had been glued down and no leaks. This one has screws, but the factory was only using half the number of screw holes and using sealant. They thought it would be good, but I had 2 tags actually where it leaked and ruined the sealing because of not having enough screws all the way around, and the sealant didn't hold the water back. So the grooves in here need to be filled with sealant. Something like a silicone sealant works better than this very hard sealant that had been used originally. But you want to be looking at your roof vent and make sure that you don't have one of those that is missing screws. Every year you should be up here, maybe even twice a year, checking to see if there are cracks that could compromise the seal. If you have a leak in your clamshell, you should start with the license plate holder. This was one of the most common causes of a leak. Water would come down, it would fill up behind. This is flexible. The water can go down through it or behind it, and sometimes dirt collects in the bottom here, closes off the hole and fills it up to the point where the wires are, and the water goes into the door. What you can do is open it up and check to see if you have dirt in that crack. You could get away with drilling extra holes in for drainage, or you might want to take it off, clean the dirt off behind it, and put it back on with silicone sealant to prevent it from coming in the top. Another way to know if you have a leak in this gate would be to look at the bottom here. Typically the water will drain out and make everything rusted around here. You'll see ugly signs of water stains along the bottom. Besides that, another place that we see leaks on this gate is along the bottom. The sealant sometimes is inadequate and ends up leaking later. The handles rarely leak, but I have seen that happen. Sometimes the leak is on the side. The water comes down, goes in the side, and gets into the door. Seldom do we see any leaks on these screws, although it might be possible, nor do I see them on the top. A place that surprised me one time was right here on this plate. If water comes down, and it can pour in there if there's a crack as well. This is a 2022, but before 22 they had oval shape. Before 21 they had oval shaped lights on, 4 oval shaped lights. Those were notorious for the sealant breaking down, or maybe somebody changed the rear light on it and didn't put sealant underneath. The water comes down, goes right in, it rots out the wood strip, rots out the 1/8" plywood, and depending what your model it is, it'll take out the floor for you as well. You will know that by the water stains that occur on the inside edge on this kickboard at the bottom. And On the earlier models, it's easy to take this apart. The 21 and newer, they're tougher to get apart if you needed to. But the earlier ones, they come apart very easily. You can get that board out, replace the long strip that rots out with aluminum square tubing or aluminum angle, and that way you'll have something that's more impervious. I advocate taking up the vinyl flooring. Once you get water under the vinyl flooring, it just creeps on up toward the front. A lot of times if you catch it early, you can cut out the vinyl flooring back here, open up the cupboard, pull out the drawers, cut the vinyl flooring out of the bottom, and you'll be able to get ahead of the water going up underneath into the rest of the cabin. By doing that, you might even opt to just use beach towels across the back here because they'd look great. And inside, of course, you can put something there that's loose lay. There's really no reason to keep the vinyl flooring in there. All it does is trap water and create a problem for you with rot.